Dinosaur games, and especially upcoming dinosaur games, face a really big problem, and it leads to a really tough uphill battle that starts as soon as the game is announced, but it compounds when the game gets released. This is a battle that basically factors in and will always be a problem with new indie games, especially when you already have a very well established top phase for the dinosaur games that these new dinosaur games aim to compete with. So let's talk about that. New dinosaur games are exciting. I've made countless videos on covering these games, and I'm working on an upcoming video that talks about some more upcoming dinosaur games that you should be excited for. But today we're actually talking about the problems that these games face as soon as they're announced, as soon as they're covered by me or other YouTubers, or as soon as they are released in a playable state to the masses. And to simply put it, they face the big three scar, or well, lesser known, or just known as that, and something I've just coined right there. But it's because the dinosaur gaming scene is dominated by 3 games: Path of Titans, The Isle, and Beasts of Bermuda, all of which have a huge following, a dedicated fan base. And even though, although there is an overlap, that overlap between the player bases isn't actually too big, because let's put it this way, a lot of players who are dedicated to one game will less likely go to the competitor of that game, because they'll instantly think that their game that they're playing is better, and they'll want to stick to that game and support it. We all fall into that in some way, shape or form. Xbox players won't be playing on PlayStations that much because, you know, they prefer to stick on that console. Same with PlayStation fans not wanting to play on Xboxes. The console wars. But with the dinosaur games, you've arguably got the dinosaur game wars, with the top 3 battling it out and competing with each other to see who is the best. And competition is good. However, competition can also stress the smaller games. This makes it hard for a new game developer to grow. They're instantly chucked into trying to convince people to try out their game. Those people who are already on an established game, they're trying to convince people to leave the game they're playing. Then the game that they really enjoy, to then go and play a game with a lower player base that they've never tried before, and often or not are buying for the first time. There's a trap that we all do fall into as well here. Even I'm guilty of it. You'll see a new game release and you'll compare it to the big 3 that have already had time to establish themselves and get a lot of content out the way. And ultimately, that's where that big 3 scar sets in, because those games have all competed against each other, created their own niche, and formed a way where they're just very strong games with a lot of content. A new game with a lot less content, lower dev teams, lower budgets, instantly gets chucked into a comparison between those games. I think nowadays the expectation for a new game to come out with comparisons to other games is always going to be an uphill battle for the small new games that are coming out, and will always be a problem, no matter the game, no matter what. As soon as they release, they'll be compared to the big 3, and ultimately that's one of the big problems that makes it very hard for these games to grow. Another thing that makes it hard and compounds this issue further is that most often or not, these games are multiplayer games. It's very hard for these games to bring in AI straight away. I know the Isles of Yore done that straight away, which kind of made the world feel a little bit more alive, but because of server issues they had to reduce that by reducing the AI and making sure tick rate was better and server performance was better. But that being said, how many people want to check out a brand new game when they're already comfortable with the game that they're playing? Which is understandable, of course. However, that in turn means, in a feedback loop, less people play the new game. And if you play the game, you maybe play it with someone straight away, you meet some people when it first releases, you have a good time, and then ultimately you come back a couple days later and there's one person in the server, or no people in the server. That makes you less likely to come back to the game if you're consistently coming back to less people to play with. This is the same with games that I've played recently. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Yeah, it's an old game, but when they recently opened the servers back up, everybody was hyped about it. So many people got it, started playing it again, and I hopped onto it. I started playing it again. I started playing survival, had a little bit of fun with that, and then I ended up going onto multiplayer. I had a couple good games earlier in the morning, but then when the evening came around and I loaded in, I was sat there in matchmaking for team deathmatch, free-for-all and other game modes for 20 minutes each. I spent an hour waiting to play a game on Modern Warfare 3, and since then I haven't touched the multiplayer because you just can't reliably play with people, and that crushes people's will to play a multiplayer game, and kind of is a reason, once again, why these smaller dinosaur games get chucked into that uphill battle straight away, because they instantly have a lot less people. But this ties into something that other YouTubers have commented on. ShiftyVee made a really good video talking about animal and dinosaur survival games and their big problem, and that was something that's content related. Now I recommend you check out his video. It's a really good video. He just talks about this as one of the sole points, and it's very good to have an idea because he goes into a lot more detail there. So go watch that and get his opinions on it as well, because it's nice to have a multitude of opinions on stuff like this. But I agree with what he says. When new dinosaur games release, they have less content. They're often releasing in alphas or betas. They often just have survival features, growing as a dinosaur, playing as 1 or 2 or 3 dinosaurs, very limited features, eating, drinking, fighting, growth, and that's about it. Yeah, some games have AI, but once again, you're being chucked into a comparison directly with the other dinosaur games. And the reason why I say that is because most often or not, these new dinosaur games get priced anywhere between £10 to £20, averaging around £15 here, which puts it in direct comparison with 2 of the top 3 dinosaur games at their full price, which is Beast of Bermuda and The Isle. And also, under a technical factor, you can be in comparison with Path of Titans, because you can get the game fully technically by a dinosaur pack, which is as little as £5. Herein lies the point. You've got a dinosaur game that releases that's the same price as The Isle, but has a lot less content, less people playing it. You wouldn't necessarily want to check it out unless you're a collector of dinosaur games or just want to support new games. And you know what? I completely understand why developers do this. I understand it because they need to raise funds to then further develop the game. But in doing so, it puts them at a very uphill battle straight away, because they're constantly having to fight back to convince people to come back after time. And does it always work? Not really, but sometimes it does. I know why these developers and these games have these problems. I know why they're instantly chucked into an uphill battle. Do I know a solution to this? Well, the biggest solutions will be more content on launch and maybe a more competitive price. But then again, it's all about grabbing that audience and convincing them to stay. In my eyes, you need to set yourself apart from the top 3 games. Path of Titans, The Isle, Beast of Bermuda all have their own core gameplay features, their own core dinosaurs. If you could offer something that's different survival gameplay features, different dinosaurs that are not in those games, and then blending in some that are in those games but maybe look different models or variations, you could put yourself arguably at a competitive stance. But then, does it always work? As I said earlier, it doesn't, because at the end of the day, everybody's chucked into that same uphill battle when you're releasing a new dinosaur game. It's got to the point now where that is the case, and it's always going to be quite tough. That being said, let me know your thoughts about this stuff in the comments down below. I'd love to know what you think. Do you agree? Do you not agree? I know maybe this video might be too harsh, but I do feel like it's something that I wanted to talk about. I've been thinking about this video for a while. When I saw Shifty's video the other day, it's a very thought out video, and it kind of is the last point in my topic that I wanted to mention. I recommend you check out his video, because if I didn't see that video, I wouldn't have got, the thoughts together to actually put some other stuff into the list that I wanted to talk about. There's a lot more that compounds this issue, but it is still a big problem in the dinosaur gaming scene. And yeah, I do hope one day we get to see a game just storm out the gates, gain big traction, and blow up as a dinosaur game, whether that's a survival game or something else. But I mean, in the meantime, we'll have a lot of dinosaur games by new developers to experience and enjoy, which I can't wait for, because I'll be making sure you are all kept up to date on all of them, because they're all really cool. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you are new, feel free to subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.